Well, hello everyone, and thank you for joining us at today's virtual volunteer town hall call. This is the second call of the new year, and just like our first call, this is in direct response to your valuable feedback, the feedback you provided on the Red Cross Volunteer Satisfaction Survey. So thank you for those of you who participated and filled out that survey. In the comments we received, you asked for increased communication in the Northeast Ohio region and an opportunity to personally connect with Red Cross leadership. So, on today's call are many of the chapter executive directors, if not all of them, the department heads who have all gathered here at regional headquarters, and of course, regional CEO Mike Parks, who will provide a brief update and then take your questions. But before we hand it over to Mike, I'd like to ask you all to please mute your phones. You'll have an opportunity to ask questions in a brief period of time, but until then, please keep your phones on mute. It'll help the whole process. Thank you. And I hand it now over to Mike Parks.
Well, thank you, Jim. I appreciate it very much, and thank you to all of you who took time out of your busy day to join us. Really appreciate your gift of your time, your talent, and that treasure that is your resource. And I just have to mention that you volunteers that are on this call are truly important to us in every way. In fact, for every one of us that works here in Northeast Ohio on the paid staff, there's no less than 30 volunteers to help accomplish the life-saving mission that is the American Red Cross mission. So thank you for that. I want to just share a couple things so that we are at the end of February. We were 2/3 of the way done with our fiscal year for FY19. I just want to share a couple thoughts just so put in context all the great work that you are doing. And I say you because volunteers continue to do almost 90% of the work of the American Red Cross. So thank you in advance for the things that I'm going to mention. We've had almost 700 disaster responses in the first 8 months of the fiscal year. That most of those have been home fires, and we've assisted over 1,100 families with your efforts. So thank you for that. We've installed over 7,000 smoke alarms, making nearly 3,000 homes safer, which is a critical part of our prevention mission. We've actually had more than 1,650 students taught preparedness through our pillowcase project, and there have been nearly 3,000 cases serviced for our service to the armed forces. That's just some of the list of things that you have all accomplished. And so I could go on, but I won't, other than to say thank you for each and every one of you and for how you impact our clients and our stakeholders and our partners each and every day. So with that, I'm more than happy to open it up for questions, turn it back over to you, Jim, and I'll look forward to hearing your thoughts and comments.
Thank you, Mike. We've decided to initiate a new procedure, and we've identified one of our volunteers as the person to lead off the questioning today. So I call on Don Wolford, the lead volunteer candidate screener, to address the first question. Don, are you there?
I'm here, Jim.
Thanks,
Thank
Don.
you.
Go ahead.
Hi, Mike.
Hi, Don.
We've met a couple times. I don't know if you remember me.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Hello?
Mike, yes? Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. My question, Mike, has to do with volunteers who work remotely.
Don Wolford addressing a question to Mike Parks, the regional CEO. Mike Parks, please respond.
And I do recognize that we have a number of people who are, in our 22 county region that are spread out amongst that area and are somewhat remote sometimes. And I think obviously one of the biggest ways is through the electronic medium. Whether you have a computer, the internet, that's obviously a big help with things like volunteer connection and other opportunities, whether it's our bi-weekly or semi-weekly blog that we put out, or things like that, other newsletters and other pieces of correspondence that we send out electronically or otherwise. Obviously, if transportation is a difficult issue, then that becomes more of a challenge. but staying connected with your local chapter is critically important. I think our chapters continue to be the service delivery point for our Red Cross mission, so staying plugged into your local chapters, Don, is an important part of that. Our chapter execs are committed to making the volunteer experience as positive as possible. And needless to say, I want to make it very clear, they're probably your first entry point if you have questions about what's going on or you need some additional information. But obviously our volunteer services officer here, services office here in the region is always ready to help as well. So those are some things you can do just initially, Don. I hope that's responsive. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it certainly does. Thank you very much, Mike.
Thanks, Don. I appreciate it.
Okay, is there anyone else with a question for Mike Parks today?
No.
Was that a yes or a no?
No.
No one else has a question for Mike today. This is the opportunity you have to connect with Mike and engage with him. If you have anything, any issues at all, just bring it up. If not,
So Jim, while people are thinking if they're trying to compose their thoughts, I'll just share a thought that something's coming up here right around the corner, and that's our Sound the Alarm event that is happening this spring. Interesting that I should mention spring. That starts tomorrow, so I hope everybody has has enjoyed their winter and has a good spring that starts tomorrow. But Sound the Alarm, we're going to help install 3,000 alarms here in Northeast Ohio during a period that runs from April 27th to May 12th. And that is kind of our signature event that we are running. We obviously install smoke alarms year round, but this is an opportunity to do it with focused events, and we'll have at least 20 events throughout the region where opportunities for you to volunteer. So I want to encourage you, if you've not registered to volunteer yet, you can do that at www.soundthealarm.org. So that's an opportunity to invite family and friends to volunteer as well. I think you can also support that program, Sound the Alarm, financially through a CrowdRise page. Personal fundraising, like is done in so many other organizations. The Red Cross is trying to embrace that as well. And obviously our volunteer services team can assist you there. And if you need their help, I'm more than happy to give that number. That number is 216-431-3328. So Sound the Alarm, big program, something that actually started here in Northeast Ohio under Operation Save a Life, and it's just got a long history over the past 27 years. We just installed recently our 200,000th alarm in Northeast Ohio. So most of those alarms were installed by you, our volunteers, so thank you for that.
and last year, I know the Red Cross overall installed its 1 millionth smoke alarm during the Sound the Alarm campaign. And how many lives have been saved since this campaign began nationally in 2014?
More than 520 lives, Jim, have been saved in this campaign since it went national 4 years ago.
So that's the significant difference you are making as participants in Sound the Alarm. And if you have any questions about Sound the Alarm, feel free to ask. Our regional disaster officer, Tim O'Toole, is here to answer those questions if you have any for Tim as well. Any questions for Mike or Tim or anyone on the leadership team?
No.
Okay, this is Don Wolford again. I do have a question for Mike and any other management folks. I think it seems to me that managing a volunteer workforce is different from the traditional managing of full-time workers. I wonder if you have any thoughts about what differences there are and how you go about managing volunteers versus full-time workers.
Well, Don, that's a great question, and I think there are obviously some market differences how you deal with that. I think first and foremost, volunteers really require a mission that they can get around. They really need to have a mission that they can embrace, and one of our jobs in an effort to lead and inspire that part of the workforce is to give them a real connection to the mission, because that's what makes the volunteers actually show up, is their connection and their tie to the mission. And then I think it's our job to also give them a clear understanding of their job responsibility. What is their task? Who do they work for? What are the expectations of them? And I think that's another thing that volunteers not only crave, but they really do need that. We need to give them a clear understanding of our expectations and the tasks before them. And then I think another thing we really have to strive for is to give them the tools, whether that's the training or the equipment they need to be successful. I think once we do that, and we need to engage them through that process so that we have a good line of communication and dialogue throughout the process. And then finally, in a cycle that continues to go on, I think we need to recognize them and thank them for their efforts. And I think this call is part of that, is to provide the recognition and to answer the questions and to show that you are truly valued as volunteers, that we care about you and we care about your thoughts. So that's why we create forums like this, so that you can actually we can engage with you in a setting where we understand your needs and your desires, your concerns, and that you're heard. And that process of giving meaningful work and giving training and equipment, and then recognizing, and that's kind of a lather, rinse, repeat cycle that we do over and over and over for our volunteers. And obviously we appreciate the surveys that we get, that you respond to, because that gives us information. That's one of the reasons we're conducting this call, in response to feedback we've gotten from you. So I think, Don, those are some of the things that we really strive to do when lead, and I say leading because it's not, you don't manage people, you lead people. You manage processes, you manage stuff, but we really are about leading and inspiring our volunteer workforce. And we are so fortunate to have great volunteer leaders such as yourself, as well as others who help us do that, and always keeping us grounded on what the important thing is the mission and the clients. So thanks, Don. That's a great question.
All right.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Don. Anyone else with a question for Mike Parks or anyone on the leadership team?
Mike Parks, I volunteer fireman in Vienna, Ohio, and I'm a part of the smoke detector team. And I think it's a very good program to be with, and it has saved a lot of lives, I think. And that's my comment on it.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that comment, because it means a lot coming from you as someone who's actually out there, not only volunteering for your fire department. Thank you for doing that and for being one of those critical first responders. But also the work that you're doing helping us install smoke alarms. That is a vitally important program in its 27th year, and thank you so much for being part of it, and for that positive comment about it. Thank you.
We had an event in Austintown on Thursday night at Hollywood Gaming, where many of the fire chiefs from the Lake to River chapter joined us and gave us the opportunity to say thanks to them. So thank you for participating. Any other questions for Mike Parks?
Jim, this is Eileen Guy out on the western frontier in Sandusky. And this isn't a question, but just a bit of information looking toward the volunteers, the critical volunteers that we have in blood services. I've had the experience for the last couple of years of being disqualified as a blood donor because of some international travel. But I noticed that I keep getting email solicitations from the Red Cross to donate blood, which means that the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. One is pushing me away and the other is pulling me in. So I just want to give somebody a heads up that maybe those two, the recruitment and the screening components of the blood services need to handshake, because I'm concerned that it'll be a turnoff to people who've been temporarily disqualified to be nagging them to donate blood when the same organization has told them that they can't. I realize that the disqualifications are not imposed by Red Cross, but actually by the CDC. But nonetheless, it's Red Cross that is the face, the outward face toward the blood donors, and they are critical volunteers for the American Red Cross.
Eileen, thank you. It's great to hear your voice. Thank you for that feedback. That is, obviously spot on. And I will tell you that as an individual who donates blood and then gets home and has 3 messages from the Red Cross that very day I donated, it is a little disheartening that they can't keep track of. I can't give blood for the next 56 days, or in my case, 112 days doing Power Red. I think there is a lot of work that needs to be done in this area. I think the Biomed folks fully appreciate that, and that is a process that is ongoing, but we will use this as another opportunity to feed that back through the system. So Eileen, thanks for your input. I would also just hearken, since we've got a number of people on this call, there is still a blood emergency. We still have a shortage of blood. We do not collect enough blood here in Northeast Ohio to serve our needs for this region, but also that is, we have a national network, so anything that if you can give blood or you can get someone to give blood, bring someone along, that would be vitally important. One of the things I'll let you know is that less than 40% of the population can give blood for a whole host of reasons. Like yourself, Eileen, you're not able to give, so that's a challenge. But the bigger challenge is that less than 10% of that population chooses to. And what they typically tell us when they are confronted is, well, nobody asked, or I didn't know. Well, I'm asking. So if you can give blood, please do. There's blood. We conduct 15 blood drives a day in Northeast Ohio, and there are 3, almost 4 if you include Mansfield, donation centers inside our region that you can come and donate blood. So that's a critical problem. But Eileen, thank you for your feedback. We will certainly pass that along.
And although Eileen can't donate blood, you do give back in so many other ways, Eileen, as a communications volunteer and just being a guiding light for the American Red Cross in your role as an advanced public affairs team member. So thank you very much for all the help you've given me and for the way you've helped tell the Red Cross story. And that it just shows that there are so many opportunities for people to volunteer for the Red Cross.
Well, there are, and whether it's disaster and being a disaster action team member, or any number of caseworker or anything like that, or helping and becoming a caseworker, or helping our service, the armed forces, obviously Biomed. There are people who can help us with events. We've got some events coming up throughout the region. If you get a hold of your chapter executive and talk about that, there's some opportunities to do that kind of work that's extremely important. And so I think we've got pretty much something for everyone, and we'd love to engage you. So if you've got, and I want to encourage the people on this call, the greatest recruiter for volunteer, greatest recruiter is actually you, fellow volunteers. Nobody recruits volunteers as well as existing volunteers, so please think about that. Make it your mission by the end of the year to bring one more person that you like working with on board. That will certainly help the cause. One thing I want to just stress about blood drives: there is no age limit for giving blood. You do not have, as far as a limit to age, you can be, if you can get yourself to the donation center and you are medically qualified, there is no limit on how old you are to give blood. You do have to be over 16 to donate, and you'll get checked very carefully there to make sure you have the right medical conditions, but just make that clear.
Let me once again ask everyone who's on the phone.
Yes, there's a comment?
I was was going to, this is Eileen again. Mike, you're not referring to my advanced age, are you?
Eileen, I would never, first of all, I'd never do that in public, but no, I wasn't, actually. I just wanted to make sure, because I'd been asked by, and actually I'll tell you a quick story. I was giving blood over Halloween with WKYC, and they sent a young reporter who was 27 years old, and this kid was full of vim and vigor, and he's like, walks in, and I go, well, we're gonna do this together. And he looks at me and says, oh, you're not too old to give blood? And I looked at him, and I, obviously wanted to smack him, but I didn't, and then we both gave blood, and I'm what they know as a bleeder. I give pretty quickly, and he almost passed out during his first time donating blood, and I just looked at him and called him a rookie and said thanks for donating. But no, there is no age limit, and Eileen, that certainly wasn't directed at you.
No harm, no foul.
Thank you, Eileen. Great to hear your voice. Please mute your phones, everyone, unless you're asking the next question.
Yeah, I have a question. I'm calling in from Stark County. What are the opportunities to become certified in CPR and possibly medically like practice and things like that as well with Red Cross?
Well, and you're coming in a little garbled, but I think what I understand is that you're interested in becoming certified in first aid and CPR and things like that. Well, fortunately, we're in Red Cross month, and you as a volunteer, are available to take free classes. They're complimentary. CPR, first aid, AED training classes, and that's something that we've set up for you, and that's something that you can contact. You can actually go online, or you can contact one of the things, you're down in Stark, you can obviously talk to our executive director, Kim Crow, who's down there, and he can help facilitate for you if you can't find that information online for where that is. So if you want to go to redcross.org and then /take a class. That's redcross.org/take a class. We'll give you information on how to sign up, and that is indeed free. And if you have trouble with that, you can try 1-800-RED-CROSS. That always provides the information.
You'll need a coupon code if you're signing up for one of the free classes for CPR, first aid, and AED, and that coupon code will come to you via email from our volunteer services department once you indicate that you're interested in taking one of those classes.
Thanks for the question.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Hi, Mike. This is Doug Bardwell.
Hey,
I
Doug.
was taking a class in Hermitage, PA, and had occasion to meet a couple of people there who were involved with their golden retrievers as part of a comfort team, part of our health and welfare group. Went out after disasters and used their dogs as comfort dogs. I was just curious if we have anything like that in the northeastern Ohio area.
Well, actually, those folks, Doug, thanks for bringing that up. Those canine teams, we do use them. We do have them. We actually, I've met the folks I think you're talking about from Hermitage, PA. They actually come over and do some work for us in the Youngstown area. So, yeah, that's a great program. The comfort animals, we have them throughout the region. We don't have as many as we would probably like, but we do work in conjunction with the VA, because it's kind of an SAF, it's in the SAF program, Service to the Armed Forces. So that's something that we, I've seen the benefit of those up close and personal. I think it's a great program. And those folks from PA, they're willing to travel to help us in our eastern flank. So that's great. So thanks for bringing that up,
Mike?
Doug. Yes.
Mike, this is Carol McGargy, Mercer County, Pennsylvania. I am one of those K9 teams with the Golden Retriever.
Oh, you're fond of it. Carol,
And-
tell me your name
yes.
of your dog.
The name of my dog is Tori.
I think we've met. I appreciate what you do. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.
Carol was at the event I referenced earlier for the Lake to River chapter, where the K9 team got together for the first time in a long time and had their photo taken. Carol, if I'm not mistaken, this is the 10th anniversary of your team coming together, is it not?
That is correct. 10 years, yes.
Well, thank you and Tori for your service.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Any other questions for Mike Parks? We've got a couple minutes left before we wrap up this virtual town hall call. Are there any other questions?
Yes, I'd like to ask a question. I'd like to take the test for doing the vehicles in my chapter, the River Lake chapter. I need to know how I could do that.
All right, sir, so you're in the Lake to River chapter and you'd like to understand how to take the test to be able to operate the vehicles? I mean, for example, the emergency response vehicle, the ERV, is that what you're specifically asking about?
No, I'm asking like I do smoke detectors, and I have to take a test to drive the vehicles for the smoke detectors.
Okay, let me ask a quick question because I want to make sure, Tim O'Toole's here. I want to make sure we're answering your questions. I am not aware that you need to, unless it's the emergency response vehicle, it moves the, it looks like an ambulance. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I'm just talking about like the Red Cross cars and stuff.
Mike Park, it's Melissa Papini. Can I jump in real quick?
Please do, Melissa.
Hi, Mike Pesa. I just had you added to my team this morning. I will assign a defensive driving class to you so that you can drive all of our Red Cross vehicles except for the ERV.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
Thanks, Melissa.
Glad I
That's what
could
we're
help.
here for. That's what we're here for.
Thank you, Melissa.
Appreciate the help.
Yep. Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for giving us an easy one.
Anyone else with a question for Mike Parks? Here's your opportunity. You know, among the questions that were submitted on the Red Cross Volunteer Satisfaction Survey, were questions about being connected to the Red Cross in their local community, but wanted additional communications about the region and organization. So what's currently available for volunteers to be connected to the entire Northeast Ohio region?
Well, thanks, Jim. I think, as I said earlier, there is an opportunity to subscribe to our Northeast Ohio region blog at www.neoredcross.org. You can also visit us on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn. I also think that we work very hard to keep volunteer connection information up and current, so there's opportunities to keep informed of what's happening there, opportunities to volunteer. There's a lot of information that's passed via email, and I know people get a lot of emails these days, but that can be two-way communication. I again really stress one of the most important ways for our volunteers, quote unquote, out in the field to stay connected is stay connected with your local chapter. We have 5 chapters here in Northeast Ohio, and they cover all 22 counties, and the executive directors are committed to passing information as much as they can in as timely a fashion as possible. So Jim, that would be kind of my way of answering that question about how to stay engaged. And one of the best ways to stay engaged is truly find ways to, whether you sign up if you're qualified to be on a disaster action team or attend an event or participate in other volunteer opportunities. I think that's the best way to stay engaged, is actually get out there and do what you do best, which is volunteer.
We really appreciate everybody taking part in the call today. This is our second virtual volunteer town hall call. we're going to be embarking on a new initiative coming up this summer, so you'll be able to actually connect with us face to face.
Yeah, and Jim, let me just mention that is really an opportunity to get to know us better. I invite you to attend our chapter, volunteer recognition events. They're going to take place in the spring and fall, and please feel free to join us at these events. And we also hope to have some summer ice cream socials, which is what's better than ice cream in Northeast Ohio in the summer. So that should be hopefully a good opportunity, and we look forward to those opportunities, as well as a Thanks for Giving event in the fall. So we look forward to seeing you, and please keep those questions coming, and I encourage you to keep filling out your volunteer surveys and feedback. Those surveys that we send you are what drove us to conduct this call and the one we did previously. So take the time. You're going to get those surveys on your anniversary month, and we appreciate you taking the time to do that. That matters a lot to us. Jim?
All right, everyone. On behalf of CEO Mike Parks, Tim O'Toole, Eric Galves, Jessica Tischler, Michelle Polinko, Jane Willits, George Martinez, Deborah Keller, and Gail Wernick, thank you all very much for being with us today on this virtual volunteer town hall call. Have a great day, everyone, and a great spring coming up starting tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you.